In the course of the everyday, in the course of 25 years, 1.5 million people from more than 100 lands have made their way here, have been brought here, each with his own and her own story of return, of escape, of recovery and new beginnings. Like this man in the street, who took a giant step and giant risks to come to Israel. A member of Israel's latest wave of newcomers. One of a tide of thousands who are insisting that they have the right to be among their own, at home.
This is the gates to Israel. All the Russian Jews arrive through these gates to our homeland after a long and a cruel struggle. And in this struggle, you have helped us very much. Now we wait for a plane that brings a next group of Russian Jews. All the crew is from Russia. Production manager Shlomo Berilovich is from Vilna. Director of photography Yuri Spilny is from Moscow. Sound engineer David Ozhekhov is from Vilna. I am from Moscow also. My name is Efraim Tsevela. I went through these gates a year ago. As did most my friends, my family. Soon in a few moments it will be their turn. This is our story. It is yours as well. This threshold we share together.
The first chance he had, he came up to Jerusalem, the second day after his arrival. But it was not as you would think, not immediately. His first glimpse and impressions left him feeling distressed. He had so much wanted to come here, sacrificed so much too. Why does the sight of these streets bother me so? It was the letters and signs that had done it, all in Hebrew. The last time he had seen such a mass of Hebrew words outdoors had been 30 years ago on the tombstone at his grandmother's funeral. It was she who had taught him to speak, although not to read, Yiddish. Yiddish, his one link through all the years of Jewish forgetfulness, assimilation, to his hard choice and return to Israel. But here was life, not death, where the nighttime was not a knock at the door, an interrogation, a world of shadows, menace, out-of-sight places and confinement for bold friends, outspoken relatives who dared ask full recognition as Jews. But here the night was still the time to recall the tide of courage that had brought him to Israel and to remember those he had left behind. For Ephraim Tsevela, running the gauntlet from Moscow to Jerusalem, meant saying goodbye forever to his mother, Rachel, in Minsk, and to his father, Joel, one-time champion Russian wrestler and athletic instructor. For his wife, Julia, and daughter, Miriam, there was the constant threat that he would sooner visit a Siberian prison camp for 10 years than bring them to Israel to start life all over again. At the least, running the gauntlet, asserting his right to join his people, meant giving up the good life, position, affluence. As a highly regarded Russian film writer and director, he stood at the top, a solid series of hits to his versatile credit. Dramas, tragedies, comedies. The stakes for his wife were equally high. A fine career as an actress, graduate of famed Vakhtangov studio, who enjoyed great popularity on stage and in films. Appeals and clandestine letters were smuggled abroad to enlist support. After vain months of seeking permission to leave, after harassment and wiretaps on their apartment, and surveillance by the security police, the KGB, Tsevela and a group of his friends decided to test Soviet exit policy. In a dangerous game of all or nothing, freedom to Israel or prison that was to make world headlines. On February 24th, 1971, at a time when the exodus of Jews was hardly a trickle, this group of 24 staged a sit-down strike in the building of the Supreme Soviet, demanding to see President Podgorny and permission to leave for Israel. By evening, in the building now ringed by troops, they had won their gamble. A short live commission would process some of those who for years had been applying for visas. An example in courage and nerve, a beginning made, for a trickle to become a tide, Sabella and 19 of his friends were finally allowed to leave. But under one pretext or another, more often placed in prison than not, these four know. Pavel Abramovich, Viktor Polsky, Vladimir Slepak, Vladimir Prestin. Today, Sabella's friends from that Moscow group who had made it out are setting their roots wide and deep in the land they have come to. Like this man, Yakov Ronin. Yesterday, a prominent biologist at Moscow University turned taxicab driver when he was dismissed from his position for applying for a visa. And today, helping to build this new kibbutz in Israel's north, where his wife and children have finally joined him, working hard to earn a place for themselves.
I am Yakov Ronin's wife. Our family, like many other immigrant families from Russia, lived through a cruel drama. I was separated from my husband. I could only come with our children 10 months ago. And thank God we are together now. We live in this kibbutz. We are just getting settled here. We build quarters, children's houses, plant gardens. I'm expecting a third child. A baby will be a Sabra. When he will be older, there will be a paradise corner here.
We left Russia not because we sought a better life materially. We left Russia empty-handed for a hard new life because we wanted to live as Jews with our people, like my good, strong friend Arya Freidin, also with me at the Kremlin demonstration, now working as a geologist in the Negev, after 4 long years of trying to leave Russia.
Simon knows that I was coming of about 1.5 years ago, starting to work of about 4 months after arriving in the Geological Survey of Israel. It is a lot of job for geologists here. It was a problem with the language, of course, and,
Some have come home to Israel's wasteland, like Aryeh Freidin, to map and locate resources vital to his people's economy. While here to the north, in the very contemporary and urban center of Haifa, the gauntlet of return has run its course for this friend and key figure in Ephraim Sabella's life. His name, Vilets Vyshinsky.
I'm architect to work in this town.
One of the leaders of the Jewish movement in Russia. The man who had awakened Sabella to his Jewish identity a bare 3 years ago. In 1948, as a boy of 17, he tried to cross the border to get to the new state of Israel. Caught, he was sentenced to 10 hard years in a Siberian concentration camp. His daughter, born in Moscow some months before he and his wife were permitted to leave, he named Geula, the redeemed one. So strong was his faith that she would take her first steps in Israel. In Haifa today, he is back at work, designing urgently needed homes, projected by the Jewish Agency with support from the American Jewish community, to help house and absorb the tens of thousands of newcomers expected in Israel this year. A substantial number of them fellow Jews from Russia. For Ephraim Sabella and his friends, the line of struggle and passage to a free and open life as Jews called for an intensive 6-month period of schooling and readjustment, almost immediately on their arrival in Israel. In home and study settlements such as this, one of a series of kibbutz ulpanim, part of the vital immigration and absorption programs made possible by the United Jewish Appeal. Practical classes where they can learn the living language of every day, of promises made and kept, words for house, window, street, home.
בבית יש חלון. בבקשה. זה חלון. וזה גם זה חלון.
It was at this Ulpan settlement, just outside of Jerusalem, that Savella and his family had studied, and where among his classmates he formed a new and lasting friendship. A young man who not so long ago, hailing from Riga, had sailed northern seas, and today ships out of Haifa in Israel's merchant marine. Seaman engineer, specialist in diesel motors, Misha Voronov by name, who lives in this new flat up in the Carmel Hills, overlooking the sea, where, starting all over again, he works to assemble a new home for his wife Ludmila and their 11-year-old daughter Natasha. A new rhythm as well of comings and goings, coastal voyages along the Mediterranean, lively traffic at ports in France, Italy, and Yugoslavia, and gifts and mementos for each. For some fortunate few coming out of Russia, Haifa is also the port of entry for nostalgia, for remembrances of households left behind in Leningrad, in Kovno, for single crates, the only remnants they were permitted to send out, that hold tokens of a lifetime of pride and labor, leftovers of stubborn families, whose personal exodus finds them riding out here. Part of the irrepressible stream that is the miracle of Soviet Jewry's renaissance, here aboard the famed Chopin Express, along the route that leads from Moscow to Lod Airport via this midway stop in Central Europe. For so many, this midway threshold, the first major step towards rejoining fathers, mothers, husbands, and children in Israel, is hard-earned, following on years of repeated application and visa turndowns, frustration, despair, and persecution. But all share this in common. Members of an extraordinary exodus, they come across the border not in flight, but in pursuit. Not refugees expelled, but people in pursuit of their own homeland, where they can express themselves as Jews and join the mainstream of their tradition. Their stay, a stopover of 1 to 2 days, and orientation before the hard testing and struggle to make dreams match up to the everyday. Here to this small town outside of Vienna, and this reception center, which is maintained by the Jewish Agency and funded by the United Jewish Appeal. They come, of course, without monies, Soviet authorities permitting them to take out no more than $100. For them and for thousands like them who have come through here in recent months, the vital process of return, of matching their courage, starts now. From this moment until their eventual settlement, the cost for a basic family unit of 4 persons is estimated at $35,000 for the first year of freedom. From Chernovitz, from Minsk, from Tashkent and Riga, from stubborn Asian steppes they come, assured that the road ahead is being made ready for them, and that for them there is place and welcome. From Tashkent and Riga they come, and in hard sorrow tell of this native son, Boris Penson, age 26, whose hair today is turned white, a painter, in prison again for the second time, for seeking to cross the border and come home to Israel. Behind him, 6 years already of prison and labor camps, and a sentence that runs to June 15th, 1980. Most of Boris Penson's paintings were confiscated on his arrest. These few, smuggled out by a friend, are one Jew's testament, an Orwellian world of faceless judges and Kafka-like trials, shadows and lost labyrinths, and everywhere the eye of all-seeing authority. One Jew's testament, and an old refrain that crops up more than once in the following accounts by Ephraim Savella's friends, in the story of Esther Limovska, who made it out, but only with her son.
My husband was still very young when he died. Only after 20 years, the gate to Israel opened before us, but took years of struggle. We tried to go to Israel during Stalin's time. My husband openly asked to let us go there. The result was his arrest. They gave him 10 years of concentration camp. After 5 years after Stalin's death, he was released, having spent 5 years in the most severe, in one of the most severe concentration camps in Siberia. This is the only photograph of Yusuf taken in the concentration camp. We live in Jerusalem, and here we have Judean hills. We could see from our window Nebi Samuel.
I'm not a professional artist. I'm a student of an ordinary school in Jerusalem. I draw the pictures of Israel in my own flat. This is Old Jerusalem, the old city, as I saw it from the side of the Jaffa Gate. This is the old Jaffa, near the Mediterranean Sea, with the new old restorated buildings, yachts, and painters. This picture I painted after I read the poem of Bialik in the field. In this poem, Bialik tells about the feelings of the Jewish people in diaspora who were not working on their own land, about their feelings to the land. The first time my family asked for the permission for the visa to go to Israel was 2 years and a half before we get it. My father was very ill, he had a cancer, and my mother, she's a doctor, and she knew it. A lot of times she asked the Soviet authorities to let my father die in Israel, but even in this case we got refusal. Some of my friends told me that my father will see Israel by my eyes.
I'm so happy that I just can't come to my senses. We're on this wonderful land. We're home, not at somebody's home. We're not visiting guests. I walk and look around and I just can't believe my eyes that it's all not a dream, but reality.
I'm a teacher of English, but my husband has got a more interesting occupation. He's a chemical engineer working for the refinery enterprise in Haifa. We've got just a wonderful apartment in Ashdod.
Wherever I go, my happiness is darkened. My heart bleeds for those who remained in Russia, and now, after this ransom tax has been introduced for people with high education, we just lost all hope to get them out of there. My husband and me were fortunate because in case we had remained there a couple of months more, we'd have had to pay $20,000. Where could we have got such fantastic sum of money? When we were leaving, we didn't have money to buy tickets, and we had to borrow money from some other Jewish families. Whenever you get a chance, you mustn't lose it.
Each exodus out of Russia runs its own gauntlet. One family caught in the crossfire of the recent education or head tax, Savella found living in the very house that had been his during his stay at the Ulpan. As Israel Price tells it,
the
4 of them had come from Vilna in the summer. He, his daughter, son-in-law, and son. Just in time to be caught by the ransom ruling. Just in time to have to pay 21,000 rubles for their combined degrees in education. $24,000 to be allowed out. 7,700 rubles for his son-in-law, who held an engineer's degree. 6,000 rubles for his daughter, who was an economist. 6,000 for his own business degree. And 1,200 rubles for his son's first year at the university. With miraculous help from friends, they were able to leave. On their own, impossible. for the ruling had caught them just as they had exhausted their resources. 900 rubles each for their exit permits, and with no homes or jobs to go back to. Blocked here by this decree, halted there, the irrepressible tide of Russian Jews runs on. Courageous parents and vigorous, adaptable children. As Savella's wife has put it, being an actress makes it difficult for me to work. You have to know the language well. For me, it is hard. But for my daughter Miriam, it will be much easier.
ילדות, אתם יודעות, אני ראיתי אתמול בקולנוע. כן, אבל את יודעת, מחר יש מסיבה באיזה שעה?
And for their newborn Sabra son, oh my, yes. Ephraim Savella came through these doors a year ago. Now it is their turn, and the turn of thousands waiting to come home, sustained by the promise that their example will be matched